Hey everyone, we've installed our Unity and we might even have taken our first look, but we're going to pretend that we haven't and open up Unity fresh and locate our project file, our folder that we created, and go from there. So I'm going to open up the Unity Hub. And what the Unity Hub does is you can add, remove projects, and even create new projects right here. The Unity HUD also has a Learn area, and I'll go ahead and select that, where you can download certain games or even go to a tutorial and try these. There's some really good games. Then Installs shows you what is installed and what has what components associated. So my 2019.2.6 F1, and F means it's a final version. And so this one actually has the Android support build and the WebGL build added to it, because that is what I asked Unity to install when we did the first install. So let's go back to our projects, and we're going to create a new project, and we're going to call this project here our last name, and I'm just using a blank last name, our last name underscore 121 underscore, and I'm going to name this one The Game. So, and it is going to actually reside in the location, and please note that I selected these three little dots here to open up the dialog box that says, where is this project going to be? Well, this project is actually on my desktop in my Smith John 121 projects folder. So I'm going to select that folder, and then within that folder, Unity is going to create this new project inside of that folder, and I will show you. We're going to leave it at 3D and select Create. And Unity will do its thing and start loading in the background, and sometimes this process can take a little while, and it's all due to your machine memory speed. Shouldn't be due to internet connection, however it is, because it associates your account, your Unity account, with the asset store, which you'll see that soon, and just all other little variables that have to do with technology. So with that being said, I want you to know that we are dealing with technology. We are dealing with something that has multiple versions, and excuse me, every time I do a recording, I get this froggy throat or a runny nose or something. I think it's because of my talking. So now that Unity is open, let's take a look at what we have here. So the first thing I want to show you is Unity has opened in what is called the default layout. Now the layout can be changed to however you wish to work on the layout. Number one, you can click on a window or a tab, whatever you call it, and you can move that around by clicking and dragging. So I could have something like this, where I have a game view and a scene view, or I could take my asset store and say, I don't want to see that except over for here. I can move my console over if I'd like, or put it in a different place. Click and drag. You can also go over to the right-hand side under Layouts, under Layouts, and choose whether you want a 2x2 layout or a wide layout. This is one of my preferences. I do change the hierarchy and stuff around a little bit, but I usually start with this one, or the simple default. And for this class, I will stay in the default layout. So our next one is our projects window. So in our projects window is everything that is associated with the project. And so right now I have one folder, and that is a folder that Unity provides for you called Scenes. And within the Scenes folder is our sample scene, which we are on right here. I'm going to go back to Assets, and I'd like my Scenes folder to be the very first folder so I don't have to hunt for it. So I'm going to rename it, and what I did here was I clicked a few times until I got the area where I could come in and type. I'm going to use an underscore, and just use that underscore, places it right at the beginning. Very, very simple to create folders here. Another folder you'll need in your projects would be a prefabs folder. So I right-click right in this little assets area. So in the projects panel, I selected assets. Now I right-click, create folder, and I name it prefabs. Another way to do this is to make sure that your assets is selected, so you have those main folders. Come over to create folder, and I'm going to actually add a few more folders, and you'll see that in the text. So go ahead, and I'm going to stop here and come right back with you. So I've created several folders here, and we have that down pat, and that was a very simple thing to do. The file management is key when building a video game. So now I want to take you over to some of what these windows, or these tabs, I call them windows, some folks call them tabs, and what they do and what they're about. So let's start here with the console. In the console window, you see that there's a message here, and the console window actually shows errors and warnings. And the errors actually you can find, Unity, if it's a scripting error, it will tell you exactly where it's at, what line, and even provide suggestions on what to do. And we'll come back to that. So let's go head back. I just want to mention the console really quick. We'll come back to it. I want to come back up to the hierarchy scene. And right now I'm going to drop down. So in this sample scene, we have a sample scene. It even tells us it's a sample scene. And it is this project right here. Whenever you create a new project, Unity automatically provides in a 3D environment the main camera and directional lighting. So this is the hierarchy, and in the hierarchy, everything in the hierarchy here is within the scene. So let's do something so you can see what happens in the hierarchy. Let's create an object. We're just going to do a cube, and a cube is a 3D model object. So game object, 3D objects, cube. And Unity places this cube right smack dab in the center of the scene there. Isn't that great? So since we have this cube added and it is selected in our hierarchy, let's move over to the inspector window. The inspector window is a really, really cool window. It is like the operating system of the game. This is where you use your transform tools to change the position, rotation, or scale. I'll show you another way to do that momentarily. This is what kind of mesh filter you've added, your renderer, your colliders. You can add components, and components are scripts, rigid bodies, particles, all kinds of things, and this is how you can add them. So as you can see, we have our cube selected, and there are these little arrows. They have lines, and they're associated with this cube. These are actually the transform tools right here. Remember I told you I was going to show you another way to do things? These are the transform tools, and this is the 3D environment. So our y-axis is an up and down, so I'm just clicking, I'm holding my click down, and I'm dragging the mouse. So that is our y. Y is up and down in Unity. This little baby here is our z-axis, which moves, I call forward and backwards. And then our x-axis, which moves right and left. So let's just say that I was working and I came over somewhere over here, and I'll tell you about those cubes, and I couldn't find my cube. Couldn't find it anywhere. Best thing to do, select your object within the hierarchy, hover your mouse over the scene view and hit your F key, and you will get centered right up with that cube. You can also change how the cube is viewed, perspective, isotopic, your X, your Y, and these types of things. So that's how you can change your view. All right, folks. So let's move to the next, got my little notes here. Let's move over to the next window tab, which is the game. So right now our game is set up where when we select this run, please folks, if I ever tell you to run the game, that's this thing up here, that's the play option. To me that's run your game. So this is your play option. So the game view, the game tab, the game window, the game view is what your users will see when they select run or play of the game. So I'm going to show you a couple of things here in this particular area, things that helped me tremendously. So when you're working in Unity, everything that you do, if you are in this run mode right here, any changes that you do will not be saved. Well, that's a lie. Some changes do, most do not. So I just say none. So I never do editing while in this run mode. So I'm going to stop that. And you saw that ugly green that came on? Well, that's actually within the preferences. You open up Edit Preferences, and you come over here to Colors. And you can tell Unity what color you want to be when the game is in play mode. That way you'll always know, oh man, I'm in play mode, I better not make any changes, or they won't say it. So that's my one tip. The next tip is if you are not happy with what is being seen when you select the game view, come over to your scene view. Let's just say I want this to be what people see, or something similar to that. I get my scene view lined up, I select my main camera, and I go to Game Object, Align with View. You see right down here in the camera preview, that's what we have. I'm going to select Run, and they're pretty doggone similar there. So those are my two tips. So that, my friends, is the game view. Let's head on over, or head up. Let's head up to the toolbar. So you have your basic toolbars, just as with any application. You have your edits. Your assets are things that you bring into your package. Your game objects are simply game objects. Components, remember over here I said add components? These are all the different kinds of components. So we have our window, which you can also access many of your tabs with, and of course your help feature. Down below that are your, basically your hand tool moves things. So, oops, let me go to scene. So your hand tool can move things around. My preference is to use the keyboard shortcuts on that, so I'm going to go back to the Move tool, which the keyboard shortcut is W. So the Move tool, so I'm just heading back there. So when I actually move around my scene, I use the mouse and the keyboard. So right now I'm holding down my middle mouse button, and it gives me that hand so I can move it about. So middle mouse. So you want a mouse that has a middle scroll button. My next feature is I'm holding down the Alt key and just normal clicking, and I can just look all around. Isn't that great? So that's what I do. But you can always use the little hand. So the Move tool is just that. We already saw what the Move tool does, right? Shortcut key, W. Next shortcut key command is E. And my friends, this is the Rotate tool. So you can actually rotate. Oh, you gotta select the little thing. You can rotate your objects this way. The next tool is the scale tool, and its shortcut key command is R. And you can rotate uniformly by selecting the inner box here and just clicking and dragging. Look at that. Click and drag. Now if you want to skew it, not skew, but change the width or the depth, you grab the little keys on the end. Alright? So that is that tool. Next on is our center and pivot. Center and pivot are how the object moves about. Do you want it to move from the center, or do you want it to move from a pivot point? And pivot points are usually provided in the 3D modeling atmosphere when you create the 3D model. So for instance, our little cube here, if I hold my Alt key and spin, it is actually has this pivot point is in the center. So any action that I call upon is going to happen from that point. Some folks like to move their pivot points down to corners or bottoms and things like that. This would cause an issue if you were doing something like a door and you wanted the door to open or close. Next you have your local or global, and right now it's only letting me have local. So local and global is how the user actually sees the object and what happens to the object. Does it move right to left locally in the house, or does it move globally, like the whole thing? How does it move? Let's move on over. I told you this is your play option, which I always call run. You can pause, you can fast forward. If you want to collaborate with someone or work in the cloud, I do not do that with Unity. I save everything on my machine. I want it right where I can get it. So then this has to do with your account. Layers are, if you're familiar with any graphic design material, layers are that. And then, of course, you have your layout, which I have as default. So there you go, folks. That is basically Unity in a nutshell. So what I'd like to do right now is I want to leave this cube because we're going to work with this cube, but I'd like for you to save your scene. We're in the sample scene. Save your scene, save your project, and then close out of Unity.